Hey, what's up? I'm Amanda and I'm really into theater, and if you are too, subscribe.
Yeah.
How to Dance in Ohio is Broadway's latest musical. It actually centers autistic people, which is great because I don't think there's ever been a musical that has been so vocal in, making one, the show accessible for everyone, and two, just centering a story around autistic people in a positive way. I don't think we've gotten anything like that. Another thing that's really cool about this show is that the autistic characters are actually played by autistic actors. Again, I don't think I've ever seen this on Broadway, but feel free to correct me if that's not the case. In the show, we meet 7 autistic people. What's cool is that they're all like young people. They're not just like teenagers. I feel like a lot of Broadway shows are just about teenagers. That's been the case, which I get. But they're a little older, which I appreciate. They're like getting ready to go to college, some of them, and some of them are like way past that, and well, not like way past that, but they're already like established. They have their own apartments and all that. I think it's nice because there's like variety amongst the group of people that we're presented with. Very nice. So yeah, we meet these 7 autistic people, and they all go to group therapy, and their doctor's name is Dr. Amigo. And Dr. Amigo has this idea of putting on a spring formal to help them to work on their social skills. So news comes out that this clinic is doing this spring formal, and the local papers decide, oh, this would be a really cool story, let's get an interview. What you learn is that Dr. Amigo doesn't take the opportunity to invite the clients to come to the interview, though he tries his best to make the interview like centered around them. The news or the blogs kind of like center the story around the doctor as opposed to his clients, and what comes out is like very disgusting information about like autistic people and whatnot. Very disgusting, very gross. And so when the people find out that like, yo, this is what came out of the interview, we don't really like that, the spring formal kind of goes on a halt. But one of the characters are like, no, I think this is still helpful. I think this is still important. Maybe there's a way that we can bring the spring formal back. And so they work on bringing the spring formal back. That's kind of like the story, how the story kind of ends. There are other elements to the story, but that's kind of like the bare bones, the skeleton version of the story. Obviously, you learn about like the relationships between the characters, and there's one very important relationship between the main character. They're all main characters, but like the main character, I think his name is Drew, and Dr. Amigo, that I think is like very important to the story. So yeah, but that's like the gist of it. In many ways, How to Dance in Ohio kind of reminds me of The Prom, in that there was a first prom got canceled, there's a second prom, and we all work together in order to make the second prom happen, and it's way better than it was originally planned. Let's talk about the music. I didn't really find the music memorable, but I did find like segments of the songs memorable. Like not necessarily the song itself, but what they were doing in the musical number, right? So there's this one song that this character named Caroline sings. I think that's her name. She's the one that has a boyfriend, like a best friend. When she's singing about her boyfriend, right? They're like throwing red flags and stuff because like her boyfriend is like horrible, absolutely horrible. And that was hilarious, like that segment of that song. But like, ask me what the name of the song was. I don't know. Let's talk about the story. Okay. I think the book is really good. It's really good, and I like that there were a lot of like realistic elements in the story. One of the most realistic aspects of the story was the relationship between Dr. Amigo and his daughter. Dr. Amigo is a doctor, and his daughter is a dancer. She broke her foot, can't dance or whatever, so now she's working in the family clinic. And the father has this thing where he's like, well, you're gonna be a dancer, period. And she's like, you know what, I don't think I want to be a dancer, actually. I think I want to work in the clinic. I think I want to do this kind of work instead. And the father is like really adamant about it, so much so to the point where like the relationship between Dr. Amigo and his daughter kind of like split. Like it kind of like messes up a little bit, because not a little bit, a lot, because of this like rift that the father is kind of like putting in the relationship. And at the end of the show, right, like if it was any other show, you would expect everything to be all great in the end. But no, there were like clear boundaries and like things that were set in motion that let you know that, hey, we're here at the spring formal, but we need to work on our relationship, and that's something that we will do. And that's that. And I really like that, because like any other show, like I said, everything would be tied up really nice. You know what, we're not enemies anymore. We're gonna be good buddies and everything's gonna work out in the end. No, sometimes things don't work out in the end, and sometimes we have to set boundaries, and sometimes we need to work through our problems. And I think this is something that was really well done in the show. A lot of like favorite characters in the show. I would say Caroline, Drew was pretty cool. I really like Mel and Remy. Remy has a special place in my heart because he's a cosplayer and a content creator, kind of like me. Although I don't cosplay, but you get the idea. Let's talk about Meredith. What I love seeing is seeing people grow and come into their own. Whatever little step that they take, as long as you take a step forward, it's a step forward in the right direction. And Meredith did that. Although it took her the entire show to do it, she eventually did do it. And I think what was great was that in taking that first step, her relationship with her father also took a step in the right direction as well. So Meredith is introverted. She likes to be by herself, but you could tell she had a crush on Drew, or she was like interested in Drew. And so the spring formal was her opportunity to, you know, get to interact with Drew or whatever, because in the group sessions she was just like not doing that. And Drew was also interested in Meredith as well, and he was struggling trying to like ask her out or whatever. And so when the spring formal was being announced and whatnot, Meredith didn't, it's like she wanted to go, but she like she couldn't bring herself to go. And her father, poor father, was trying to like, you know, encourage her in the best way that he could. And so when she finally makes that decision towards the end of the show, and her and Drew finally get to well, not like get together, but like get together to dance, it's like, wow, I'm so proud of you, Meredith, for like trying and putting yourself out there. So those are my thoughts on How to Dance in Ohio. I thought it was a really good show. The songs were memorable, but I do feel like the story more than made up for it. The acting was incredible, the performances were great, and overall it's a good time. Definitely worth the watch, and so I recommend that you go check it out. In the comments below, let me know your thoughts on How to Dance in Ohio if you've seen it already, and if you haven't, answer this question for me. Have you ever been to a spring formal? Let me know. And as always, thanks for watching.